I'm about to tell you something that's been eating me alive for months, something that makes me question whether I'm even a good person anymore. My sister called me 3 months ago, desperate and crying, with her 3 kids in the background. She was about to be evicted. She had nowhere to go, and she asked me the one question I'd been dreading my entire adult life. Can we move in with you, just for a few weeks? Please, Jenna, you're all we have. I said no. Well, at first I said no, and what happened after that? It destroyed everything. My marriage, my sanity, my relationship with my entire family. They all think I'm a monster now. Maybe they're right. But let me back up. Let me tell you how I got here, because nothing about this story is simple. 3 months ago, my life was perfect. And I mean that actually perfect. The kind of life I'd spent decades fighting to build, the kind I never thought I'd have growing up. It was a Saturday morning. The light was coming through our kitchen curtains all soft and golden, and I was standing there watching my husband Marcus flip pancakes for our daughter Lily. She was 7 years old, sitting at the table with her little legs swinging, humming to herself. That sound, God, that carefree humming. It was everything I'd never had as a kid, everything I'd promised myself I'd give my own child. Marcus looked over at me and smiled. 12 years of marriage, and he could still make my heart skip. This man had loved me through panic attacks, through nightmares, through all the broken pieces of my childhood I'd been trying to glue back together. He'd been patient when I couldn't believe anyone would stay, and he stayed anyway. We had good coffee, the expensive kind, a house with a backyard, stability. These things might sound basic to you, but to me, they were miracles. I'd grown up in chaos. My mom was barely functional, drowning in her own problems. My dad left when I was 12. I'd raised my little sister Sarah while I was still just a kid myself. So yeah, this peaceful Saturday morning, this was everything. Then my phone buzzed on the counter. Sarah, can we talk? It's important. My stomach dropped. It always did when I saw her name on my screen. See, I love my sister. I love her with this fierce, desperate kind of love that comes from surviving a nightmare childhood together. But loving Sarah has always been exhausting, complicated, painful. Marcus noticed me staring at the phone. Sarah, he asked, his voice carefully neutral. I nodded, and I watched his shoulders tense up, watched his jaw tighten just slightly. Marcus has never said a bad word about my sister. That's not who he is. But I know what he thinks. I know what he thinks about the late-night crisis calls, the drama, the chaos that follows Sarah like a dark cloud. Me sure, what's up? The 3 dots appeared immediately. She'd been waiting, phone in hand, probably packing. My heart started pounding. Sarah, can I call you? I stared at those 4 words. In my experience, can I call you? Never meant good news. It meant her world was on fire again and she needed me to help put it out. I looked at Marcus, at Lily, at our perfect Saturday morning. Give me 10 minutes. Here's what I need you to understand, and I want you to really think about this as I tell you what happened next. Because I guarantee you, some of you watching this are going to think I'm the worst person alive. Others might understand. And honestly, I need to know which one you are. Drop a comment and tell me, because I'm still trying to figure out if I did the right thing. 10 minutes later, I was sitting on our back porch, phone pressed to my ear, listening to my sister fall apart. Hey, she said, and I could hear it immediately. That tremor, that barely contained panic I'd been hearing since we were kids. Hey, Sar, what's going on? Silence, just her breathing. Then, I don't even know where to start. Start anywhere. I'd said these exact words to her 1,000 times before. Since I was 10 years old and she was 7, I'd been her person. The one who fixed things. The one who caught her when she fell. David left, she said, her voice cracking. David, her boyfriend of 3 years, father of her youngest kid, Mason, who's 4. Sarah has 3 kids total, Emma's 9, Tyler's 7, and Mason's 4. 3 different dads, none of them in the picture anymore. Now let me ask you something, pause and think about this. If your sibling had 3 kids and kept ending up with partners who left, would you judge them? Be honest, because I'm ashamed to say that part of me did judge Sarah, even though I loved her. Part of me thought, why does she keep making the same mistakes? Comment below if you've ever had someone in your family you love, but also resent. I know I can't be the only one. When did he leave? I asked. 2 weeks ago. Just packed his stuff while I was at work and left a note. A freaking note, Jenna. I closed my eyes. I'm so sorry. That's not even the worst part. Her voice was rising, getting that edge I knew too well. The apartment, we were splitting rent. I can't afford it alone. I've been picking up extra shifts at the diner, but it's not enough. The landlord says if I don't have the full amount by the end of the month, we're out. That's 2 weeks, Jenna. 2 weeks until my kids are homeless. My hand tightened around my coffee mug. See, here's the thing. I'd heard versions of this story before. Different details, same pattern. Sarah lived paycheck to paycheck, always one disaster away from catastrophe. Missed rent, maxed credit cards, jobs lost because she overslept or got into it with her manager. And before any of you come for me in the comments saying I'm being judgmental, I know she worked hard. She wasn't lazy, but she was chaotic, impulsive. She'd make progress and then sabotage herself. Every single time. Have you looked for a cheaper place? I asked, knowing the answer. With my credit, with 3 kids, nobody will rent to me. I've applied everywhere. I get rejected as soon as they run my background check. She was crying now, really crying. I've been having nightmares about ending up in a shelter, about CPS taking my kids. Emma's already asking why we're packing boxes, why I've been so stressed. And right there, that's where I felt it. That familiar weight dropping onto my shoulders. That voice in my head that's been there since childhood. You're the oldest. You have to take care of your sister. Family takes care of family. How many of you have that voice? That guilt that tells you you're responsible for fixing everyone else's problems. Drop a comment. I want to know I'm not alone in this. We can figure something out, I heard myself say, even though my heart was racing. Maybe we can help with some of the back rent or... Jenna, she cut me off, and something in her tone made my stomach drop. I need to ask you something, and I know it's huge, I know it's a lot. But I'm desperate, I'm completely out of options. I didn't say anything, couldn't, because suddenly I knew I climbed the stairs to the 3rd floor. The elevator was broken, of course, and knocked on apartment 3C. Sarah opened the door immediately like she'd been standing there waiting, and the look on her face, God, the hope mixed with fear in her eyes, it physically hurt to see. Hey, she said, pulling me into a hug. She felt so thin. When had she gotten so thin? Hey, Sar. She pulled back, wiping at her eyes. Come in. Sorry about the mess. We've been packing and I don't even know what to keep or throw away at this point. The apartment was small. Tiny, really. A cramped living room with a kitchenette along one wall, one bedroom door visible, and presumably another bedroom or 2 somewhere. But it was the state of it that hit me. Boxes everywhere half-packed, clothes spilling out of garbage bags, dirty dishes piled in the sink. The carpet was stained, the walls marked up with crayon and what looked like juice stains. The furniture was mismatched and falling apart. A sagging couch with a broken leg propped up on books, a coffee table covered in papers and bills. But what really got me were the kids. Emma sat on the couch, arms wrapped around herself, eyes red from crying. She was 9 but looked younger in that moment, scared and small. Tyler was on the floor, aggressively playing with action figures, that kind of intense play that kids do when they're trying to block out scary things. And Mason, little 4-year-old Mason, was in the corner, sucking his thumb, staring at nothing. They all looked up when I came in. Emma's face brightened for just a second, Aunt Jenna, before dimming again, like she'd remembered she wasn't supposed to be excited about anything. My heart shattered into about 1,000,000 pieces. Hey guys, I said, forcing a smile. How are my favorite nibblings? Nibbling was my gender-neutral term for nieces and nephews, and usually it got at least a smile. Not today. Mom says we might have to move, Emma said quietly, to somewhere different. Yeah, honey, I know. That's what I'm here to talk to your mom about. We're going to figure it out, okay? She nodded, but she didn't look convinced. Why would she? How many times had she heard that before? How many times had adults promised to fix things and then failed? Sarah gestured to the kitchen. Want some coffee? Sure. We stepped into the kitchenette, which at least gave us the illusion of privacy. Sarah pulled 2 mugs from the cabinet, mismatched, chipped, and poured coffee from a pot that looked like it had seen better days. So, she said, her voice barely above a whisper, what did Marcus say? This was it. This was where I should have been honest. Should have said, Marcus thinks it's a bad idea, and honestly, so do I, but we want to help in other ways. But I looked past her at those 3 kids, at Emma trying to be brave, at Tyler playing too hard, at Mason with his thumb in his mouth looking shell-shocked. And I thought, what kind of aunt am I if I let them end up in a shelter? What kind of person? He has concerns, I said carefully. We both do, but I want to understand the full situation before we make any decisions. Walk me through everything, the money you owe, what you've tried, what your options are. For the next hour, Sarah laid it all out, and it was worse than I'd thought. She owed 3 months back. David had promised to help but disappeared. She'd been trying to keep up with her shifts at the diner, but Mason's daycare had kicked him out for late payments, so she'd been missing shifts to watch him, which meant less money. Her car was barely running and needed repairs she couldn't afford. She had $143 in her bank account. She'd applied for emergency housing assistance but was told the waiting list was 6 months. She'd reached out to charities, churches, anyone who might help. Same story, waiting lists, limited resources, not enough support. I even called Dad, she said, and I felt my blood go cold. Our dad who'd abandoned us when we were kids, who we hadn't heard from in 20 years. You called Dad, I repeated. I was desperate, I thought maybe. I don't know what I thought. He didn't answer, hasn't called back. Her voice broke. I'm a terrible mother. I can't even keep a roof over my kids' heads. Sarah, that's not. It is true. Look at this place. Look at my life. I'm 35 years old and I have nothing. Nothing except 3 kids who deserve so much better than this. She was crying now, really crying, and I found myself hugging her, this woman who I'd raised and protected and worried about for my entire life. You're not a terrible mother, I said. You're doing the best you can. My best isn't good enough. Over her shoulder, I could see into the living room. Emma was now holding Mason, rocking him slightly. Tyler had stopped playing and was just sitting there, staring at his toys. These kids, these innocent kids who'd been dealt such a crappy hand through no fault of their own. I pulled back from Sarah. Okay, I heard myself say, here's what we're going to do. Yeah, hope flickered in her eyes. And right then, right in that moment, I made the decision that would change everything. The decision I'd replay in my head a million times over the next few months, wondering how I could have been so stupid. You can move in with us, I said, temporarily, while you get back on your feet. Sarah's face transformed. The relief, the gratitude, the pure joy, it was overwhelming. She grabbed me, hugging me so tight I could barely breathe. Thank you, oh my God, thank you, Jenna. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I promise we won't be any trouble. I promise I'll find a job and a place and we'll be out of your hair before you know it. I swear this time is different. I'm different. I'm going to make you proud, I'm going to. Sarah, I interrupted gently. We need to set some ground rules. Clear expectations about timeline, about house rules, about anything, whatever you need. I'll do anything. I nodded, trying to ignore the sick feeling in my stomach. Let me talk to Marcus tonight. We'll figure out logistics. But it's going to be okay, all right. You and the kids are going to be okay. She was crying again, but happy tears this time. You saved us. You literally saved us. Had I, or had I just made the biggest mistake of my life? I said goodbye to the kids, promised Emma that everything would work out, and drove home in a daze. Marcus was in the garage when I got back, organizing his tools. He took one look at my face and said, "You said yes, didn't you?" Marcus, you should have seen it, the apartment, the kids. Little Mason was sitting in the corner sucking his thumb. Emma looked terrified. Tyler. So you said yes. What was I supposed to do? Let them end up on the street? He put down the wrench he was holding and turned to face me fully. We talked about this. We agreed that we'd help in other ways, that we'd set boundaries. I know what we talked about, but you weren't there. You didn't see. I didn't need to see. I knew this would happen. I told you this would happen. So you want me to call her back? Tell her never mind, actually, I changed my mind. Her kids can be homeless after all. That's not fair. None of this is fair. My voice was rising. You think I want this? You think I'm excited about having 4 extra people move into our house? I did this because I didn't have a choice. There's always a choice. Really? What choice? Tell me what I should have done instead. Because from where I'm standing, every option was terrible, and I picked the least terrible one. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was tired. How long? She said a few weeks. We both know it's not going to be a few weeks. Then we'll set a firm deadline. A month, 6 weeks maximum. We'll help her find a job, help her save for a deposit, help her find a place. We'll be proactive about it. And when she doesn't leave, when she finds excuses, what then? Then we'll deal with it. But Marcus, we have to at least try. They're family. He looked at me for a long moment, and I saw something in his eyes that scared me. Disappointment, maybe even a hint of resentment. Okay, he finally said. Okay, but when this goes south, and it will go south, I need you to remember that I tried to warn you. He walked past me into the house, leaving me standing in the garage alone. That night, Lily asked why I seemed sad. I told her everything was fine, that Aunt Sarah and her cousins were going to come stay with us for a little while. Like a sleepover? She asked, excited. Kind of like that. Cool, can Emma sleep in my room? We'll figure out the sleeping arrangements, honey. She bounced off, thrilled at the prospect of having her cousins around. She had no idea what was coming. Hell, I had no idea what was coming. I called Sarah before bed, told her the news was official, that she could start moving in next weekend. Next weekend? She asked. I thought maybe. I mean, the eviction notice is for the end of this month. Could we maybe move sooner? And there it was. Already the boundaries were shifting, the timeline extending. How much sooner? I asked. Maybe Wednesday. I know it's a lot to ask, but if I can avoid the eviction on my record, it'll help so much with finding a new place. Wednesday was 4 days away. 4 days to prepare our house, our daughter, our lives for this massive disruption. But what was I going to say? No, you can wait until you're officially evicted. Okay, I said, Wednesday. You're the best sister in the world, I mean it. I'm so lucky to have you. I hung up and stared at the ceiling. Marcus was already asleep beside me, or pretending to be. I could tell by his breathing that he was awake, just didn't want to talk. I lay there in the dark, thinking about Emma's scared eyes and Mason's thumb in his mouth and Tyler's too aggressive playing. I thought about my promise to always protect Sarah. I thought about the peaceful Saturday morning that now felt like it had happened a million years ago. And I wondered, what have I done? Okay, I need to pause here because I'm genuinely curious about something. Drop a comment right now and tell me, would you have said yes? Would you have let your sister and her 3 kids move in? And here's the real question. If you've ever been in a situation like this, where you had to choose between helping family and protecting your own peace, what did you do? Did you regret it? because I'm about to tell you what happened next, and trust me, it gets so much worse. But I need to know I'm not alone in this. Hit that like button if you're still with me, and let's keep going. So that's how it started, with the best intentions and the worst decision. In part 2, I'm going to tell you about what happened in those first few weeks. The fights, the broken boundaries, the moment I realized my marriage was falling apart, and the text message from Sarah that made me understand I'd been completely, utterly played. But before we get there, I need to know what you think. Comment below. Say no if you think I should have refused from the start. Help family if you think I made the right choice. It's complicated if you're as confused as I was. And if you've ever had a family member take advantage of your kindness, share your story in the comments. You're not alone. I'm not alone. We're all just trying to figure out where the line is between helping and enabling. Subscribe if you want to hear what happens next, because trust me, you do. This story is just getting started. Wednesday came too fast. I spent those 4 days in a strange fog, part preparation, part denial. Marcus and I cleared out the guest room, which had become a catch-all for storage. We bought bunk beds for the kids. I meal prepped like we were preparing for a natural disaster. I told myself I was being proactive, helpful, organized. But really, I was trying to create the illusion of control over a situation I knew, deep down, was going to spiral. Marcus barely spoke to me during those 4 days. He helped with the preparations. He's not the kind of man who'd refuse to help even when he's angry, but there was this wall between us. This cold distance that made our house feel less like a home and more like a construction site. On Tuesday night, Lily asked, "Is Daddy mad at you?" Kids, they pick up on everything, don't they? "Daddy's just stressed about work, honey," I lied, hating myself for it. "He seems mad about Aunt Sarah coming." Out of the mouths of babes. This 7-year-old had picked up on what I'd been trying to pretend wasn't happening, that my husband was furious with me, and my decision was already tearing our family apart. Before Sarah even moved in. Comment below if you've ever made a decision that you knew was wrong but felt you had no choice. Because that's where I was, knowing it was a mistake but feeling trapped by obligation. Wednesday afternoon, Sarah's beat-up Honda pulled into our driveway. It was packed so full you could barely see out the windows. Clothes, boxes, trash bags, toys, everything they owned crammed into that tiny car. I watched from the kitchen window as Sarah got out, looking around at our neighborhood. Our neat suburban street with its well-maintained lawns and 2-car garages. The kind of neighborhood she'd never been able to afford. The kind I'd fought like hell to get to. The kids tumbled out of the car. Emma looked exhausted. Tyler immediately ran to our front yard and started messing with the garden gnome Marcus had put out as a joke. Mason clung to Sarah's leg, thumb in his mouth. I opened the front door, forcing a smile. "Hey, welcome." Sarah's eyes were red. She'd been crying on the drive over, I could tell. "Thanks for doing this, Jenna, I mean it. You have no idea what this means." We started unloading the car, and immediately I felt my first spike of anxiety. The stuff, oh my God, the stuff. I'd thought they'd have a few suitcases, some essentials, but they'd brought everything. Broken toys, stained clothes, half-empty bottles of shampoo, bags of random papers. It was like they'd just swept everything from their apartment into bags without sorting anything. Marcus appeared in the doorway, watched this tsunami of chaos entering our home, and I saw his jaw clench. "Where should we put all this?" Sarah asked cheerfully, dragging in another garbage bag. The guest room for now. We can organize later." Guest room was generous. It was a 10x12 room, and we were about to cram 4 people and all their belongings into it. It took 2 hours to unload everything. By the end, our entry hallway looked like a thrift store had exploded. Tyler had already broken one of Lily's toys. Mason had cried 3 times. Emma sat quietly on our couch, looking shell-shocked and guilty, like she knew they were imposing. That night I made spaghetti for everyone. 7 of us crowded around a dining table meant for 4. Sarah talked non-stop, nervous energy, trying to fill the silence. The kids were wound up, loud, fighting over the garlic bread. Lily looked overwhelmed. She was used to quiet dinners, calm conversations. This chaos was foreign to her. Marcus ate quickly and excused himself. I have work to catch up on. It was 6:30 p.m. He didn't have work, he just couldn't stand to be there. After dinner, I tried to establish some structure. Okay, so bedtime for the kids is usually around 8:00. We can be flexible, but... 8, Sarah laughed. Mason doesn't go to bed until like 10 usually. He's a night owl. Oh, well, maybe we could try to get him on an earlier schedule. It might help with... Jenna, I know my own kid's sleep schedule. There it was, day 1, and already I was getting pushback. I let it go, pick your battles right. But 10 o'clock came and Mason was still awake, screaming because he wanted his tablet, and Sarah couldn't find it in the chaos of unpacked boxes. His screaming woke up Lily, who came downstairs in tears, confused about why her house was so loud. Marcus appeared at the top of the stairs. "Can you please handle this?" he said to me, not to Sarah. His voice was tight with barely controlled anger. I wanted to scream. I wanted to say, "This isn't my fault, I'm trying." But I just nodded and went to comfort Lily while Sarah finally found the tablet and Mason quieted down. By 11:00 p.m. the house was finally silent. I crawled into bed beside Marcus, every muscle in my body tense. "First day went great," Marcus said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "It's an adjustment period, they'll settle in." Will they, or is this what the next few weeks are going to look like? I didn't answer because I didn't know, and I was terrified that he was right. The next morning, Thursday, I woke up to sounds in the kitchen. Sarah was making breakfast, or trying to. She'd used the last of our eggs, the last of our bread, and had somehow managed to burn both. "Morning," she said cheerfully when I appeared. "I wanted to make breakfast as a thank you. Sorry about the smoke alarm." Our smoke alarm had gone off. I hadn't even heard it through my exhaustion. The kitchen was a disaster. Every pan we owned was dirty. There was egg on the counter, on the floor, somehow on the ceiling. The kids were eating cereal now. Sarah had apparently given up on the cooked breakfast, and they'd spilled milk across the table. "Sarah," I said carefully, "I appreciate the gesture, but usually we just do simple breakfasts on weekdays, and we try to clean as we go." Oh, I was going to clean. I just wanted to feed the kids first. "Okay, but Marcus needs to leave for work in 20 minutes, and he'll need to use the kitchen. So tell him to wait 20 minutes. She said it like it was the most reasonable thing in the world. I took a deep breath. "Sarah, this is still our house, our routines. We need you to work around them, not the other way around." Her face fell. I was just trying to help. And just like that, I was the bad guy. I was the ungrateful sister who couldn't appreciate a nice gesture. This was going to be the pattern, I realized. Sarah would do something disruptive, I'd try to set a boundary, and I'd end up feeling guilty. Marcus came downstairs, took one look at the kitchen and grabbed his keys. "I'll get coffee on the way to work." "Marcus, I can make you." "It's fine, Jenna." He left without kissing me goodbye. First time in 12 years of marriage. Let me ask you something, and be honest in the comments. Have you ever had a house guest who completely disrupted your home? How long did it take before you started resenting them? Because for me, it was day 2. By the end of the first week, we'd established some painful new realities. Sarah didn't have a job yet. She claimed she was looking, but I never actually saw her apply to anything. The kids weren't enrolled in school yet. Sarah kept saying she was working on it, but there was always some excuse about not having the right paperwork or the district being difficult. Our grocery bill had tripled. Sarah ate like she'd never seen food before, consuming everything the second it entered the house, never replacing anything. The guest room looked like a bomb had gone off. Clothes everywhere, beds never made, that distinctive smell of too many people in too small a space. The noise was constant. Fighting, crying, yelling, YouTube videos at full volume. Our peaceful home had become a circus. Sarah had no concept of boundaries. She'd use my laptop without asking, go through our mail, rearrange things in our kitchen to be helpful. Marcus started working late, really late. Some nights he wouldn't get home until 9 or 10 p.m., long after the kids were in bed. I knew what he was doing, avoiding the chaos, avoiding me. We hadn't had sex since Sarah moved in. We barely spoke beyond logistical conversations about schedules and groceries. The intimacy that had been the foundation of our marriage was evaporating. On Saturday, 1 week in, I found Marcus in the garage again. "We need to talk," I said. "Do we?" "Marcus, don't do this. Don't shut me out." He put down the tool he was holding and turned to face me. "What do you want me to say, Jenna? That I'm fine with this? That I'm not watching our marriage fall apart in real time?" It's been 1 week. 1 week that's felt like a year. Do you know what Lily said to me yesterday? She asked if she could go to Emma's house sometime to have a sleepover. I had to explain to our daughter that Emma lives here now, that this is Emma's house. And you know what she said? "But it doesn't feel like our house anymore." That hit me like a physical blow. She said that. She's 7 years old and she already understands what you refuse to see, that this isn't sustainable. That we've let someone else's chaos consume our family. So what do you want me to do? Kick them out? Put 3 kids on the street? I want you to set a firm deadline, to sit Sarah down and say, you have until X date to find a job and a place. No excuses. To actually enforce consequences. I can't just. Yes, you can, you just won't. Because you've spent your entire life putting Sarah's needs before your own, before mine, before Lily's. And I'm done pretending that's noble. It's not. It's destructive. He walked past me into the house, leaving me alone with that truth. That night I tried to talk to Sarah. Really talk about timelines and job hunting and realistic expectations. "I've been applying to places," she insisted. "It's just hard with the kids and no car that works properly in." "What places?" I asked, specifically. "I don't remember all of them. A bunch of restaurants, some retail stores." "Can you show me the applications?" Her face hardened. "You don't believe me." "I'm just trying to help you stay organized. Keep track of where you've applied so you can follow up." "I don't need you to manage me, Jenna. I'm not a child." "I'm not saying you are. I'm saying that we need a concrete plan, a timeline. We can't just drift along indefinitely." "It's been a week. You said I could stay while I get back on my feet. How am I supposed to do that in a week?" "I'm not saying a week. I'm saying we need to set some goals. Like, by 2 weeks you'll have applied to X number of jobs. By 3 weeks you'll have interviews scheduled. By a month." "By a month you want us gone," she said flatly. "That's not what I said." "But it's what you meant. God, I can tell Marcus has been in your ear about this. He never wanted us here. He's probably been counting down the days until he can have his precious perfect house back." "Sarah, that's not fair. Marcus has been nothing but accommodating." "Accommodating? He barely speaks to us. He avoids the house. The kids notice, you know. Tyler asked me yesterday why Uncle Marcus doesn't like him anymore." The guilt hit me like a truck. Was that true? Had Marcus been that obvious in his discomfort? "Look," Sarah continued, her voice softening, tears forming in her eyes. "I know this is hard. I know we're disrupting your life, but I'm doing the best I can. Can you just give me a little more time, without pressuring me? I'm under so much stress, Jenna. Every time you bring up timelines and deadlines, it makes me feel like you don't want us here." And there it was, the manipulation, the guilt trip, the way she twisted my reasonable request for a plan into me being unsupportive. Of course I want to help you, I heard myself say. I'm sorry, you're right, it's only been a week. Let's table this conversation for now. She hugged me. Thank you, you're the best sister ever. But I didn't feel like the best sister ever. I felt like a sucker. That night, I tried to talk to Marcus about what Sarah had said, about how the kids noticed his distance. So now I'm the bad guy, he said. I'm the one making things difficult. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just asking if maybe you could try to engage with them more, for the kids' sake. For the kids' sake? What about for our kids' sake? What about for our marriage's sake? I'm trying to balance everything. No, you're not. You're catering to Sarah and expecting me to just go along with it. And I can't do this anymore, Jenna. I can't keep pretending this is okay. What are you saying? He was quiet for a long moment. I'm saying that if this continues much longer, we're going to have serious problems. Problems that might not be fixable. Are you threatening to leave me? I'm telling you that I can't live like this, that something has to change. We slept on opposite sides of the bed that night, a canyon of cold space between us. 2 weeks in, things got worse. Sarah still hadn't found a job. The kids still weren't in school. Our house was falling apart. Tyler broke Lily's favorite doll, threw it down the stairs during a tantrum. Lily cried for an hour. Sarah's response: "Kids break things, Jenna. It's not a big deal." But it was a big deal. It was Lily's special doll, the one Marcus had given her when she was 3. And Tyler had broken it deliberately while Sarah sat on the couch scrolling through her phone. Emma spilled juice all over our white living room carpet. Sarah tried to clean it with hot water, which set the stain permanently. Our carpet was ruined. Mason started having accidents. He was 4 and should have been potty trained, but the stress of the move had him regressing. I found myself cleaning up pee multiple times a day. And the money, oh God, the money. I'd been buying groceries constantly, toiletries, school supplies for when the kids eventually got enrolled, new clothes because half of what they'd brought was too small or too worn. I calculated it one night. In 2 weeks, we'd spent over $1,200 on expenses related to Sarah and her kids. Sarah had contributed $0. When I gently brought this up, she got defensive. "I'll pay you back once I get a job, I told you that." "I know, but maybe in the meantime you could be a little more mindful of consumption. Like, maybe we don't need to order pizza twice a week. So now I can't even feed my kids." "That's not what I'm saying." "It sure sounds like it. I'm sorry we're such a burden on you, Jenna. I'm sorry my kids need to eat." I gave up. It was easier than fighting. 3 weeks in, my mother called. "How's it going with Sarah?" she asked. "It's fine," I lied. Because she called me crying yesterday. Said you and Marcus are making her feel unwelcome, that you're constantly criticizing her parenting and pressuring her to leave. My blood went cold. That's not true. Well, she seemed pretty upset. Said Marcus won't even talk to her, that you're nickeling and dimming her about expenses. Mom, we've spent over $2,000 in 3 weeks. She's your sister, Jenna. She's family. I raised you better than to keep score like that. I'm not keeping score. I'm just trying to set some reasonable boundaries. Boundaries, right. That's what selfish people call it when they don't want to help family. I hung up on her. Literally hung up on my own mother for the first time in my life. And then I sat in my bathroom and cried, because I was trying so hard. I was sacrificing my marriage, my peace, my financial stability, my daughter's comfort. And somehow I was still the villain in this story. Let me ask you something. Drop a comment and tell me honestly. When does helping become enabling? When does family obligation become self-destruction? Because I genuinely couldn't tell anymore. That night was the worst fight, Marcus, and I had ever had. It started because I was exhausted. I'd been doing all the emotional labor, managing Sarah's moods, mediating between the kids, trying to keep some sense of order. Marcus had been disengaging more and more, which meant more fell on me. "I need your help," I said. "I can't do this alone." "You're the one who invited them here." "Oh, so this is my punishment. You're just going to check out and leave me to deal with everything." "I told you this was a bad idea. I warned you, but you didn't listen. So yeah, this is your problem to solve." "Wow, okay. Good to know where your priorities are." "My priorities? You want to talk about priorities?" His voice was rising. "My priority is supposed to be my wife and daughter, but you've made it clear that Sarah comes first, that Sarah's kids come first, that Sarah's feelings come first." "That's not true, isn't it? When's the last time we had a real conversation? When's the last time we were intimate? When's the last time you put our family, our actual family, first?" I didn't have an answer. "I'm sleeping in my office tonight," he said. "I can't do this." He left, just left me standing there. For the first time, I let myself think the thought I'd been avoiding. What if Marcus leaves me over this? What if my decision to help my sister costs me my marriage? I went to bed alone that night, crying into my pillow, trying to be quiet so no one would hear. But someone did hear. Around midnight, there was a soft knock on my door. "Emma." "Aunt Jenna," she whispered, "are you okay?" I quickly wiped my face. "Yeah, sweetie, I'm fine. What are you doing up?" She came into the room, climbed onto the bed beside me. "I heard you crying. I heard you and Uncle Marcus fighting." "Oh, honey, I'm sorry. Adults sometimes argue, but it's going to be okay." She was quiet for a moment. Then, "Is it because we're here?" My heart broke. "No, sweetie." "It is, I know it is. Mom says we're not causing problems, but I can tell. Tyler broke Lily's doll. Mason peed on the floor again. Mom doesn't clean up after herself. I try to help, but I'm just a kid." She started crying. This 9-year-old child who should have been worried about homework and friends. Not whether her presence was destroying her aunt's marriage. "Emma, listen to me. None of this is your fault. You're a wonderful kid and we love having you here." "Then why does Uncle Marcus avoid us? Why does Lily seem sad all the time now? Why do you and Uncle Marcus fight?" I didn't know what to say. How do you explain adult problems to a child? How do you tell her that you're in over your head, that you made a decision you regret, that you don't know how to fix any of it? "Things are just stressful right now," I finally said, "but it's going to get better." She looked at me with those two old eyes. "You're lying." She was right, I was lying. She went back to bed, and I lay there staring at the ceiling, thinking about how this whole situation had become a nightmare for everyone involved. Sarah was stressed. The kids were traumatized. Lily was losing her sense of home. Marcus was pulling away, and I was drowning in guilt and resentment and exhaustion. The next morning, I woke up to Marcus packing a bag. "What are you doing?" I asked. "I'm going to stay at Mike's place for a few days. I need space." "Marcus, please don't." "I have to. I can't be here right now. I can't watch this anymore." "So you're just leaving. You're abandoning me." "I'm not abandoning you. I'm preserving my sanity. There's a difference." He left. My husband of 12 years walked out the door with a suitcase, and I stood there watching, unable to stop him. Sarah appeared in the hallway. "What's going on? Where's Marcus going?" "He needs some space." "Because of us." I didn't answer. "Jenna, I'm so sorry. I had no idea things were this bad between you two. Maybe we should." "Should what? Leave? Where would you go, Sarah? You have no job, no money, no plan." "So what do you want me to do?" That was the question, wasn't it? What did I want her to do? I wanted her to find a job, to enroll her kids in school, to contribute financially, to clean up after herself, to respect our boundaries, to take initiative instead of waiting for me to fix everything. But most of all, I wanted my life back. I want you to try harder, I said quietly. I want you to take this seriously, to understand that this can't go on indefinitely. She nodded, tears in her eyes. I will, I promise. I'm going to make this right. But I didn't believe her, because I'd heard that promise before, many, many times before. And it was never true. I need to stop here for a second because I'm curious about something. How many of you are thinking, just kick her out already? And how many of you are thinking, you made a commitment, you can't go back on it now? Drop a comment and tell me which side you're on, because I was torn between both of these thoughts every single day. Also, have you ever watched your marriage deteriorate in real time? Have you ever felt like you're losing your partner because of a decision you can't undo? Tell me I'm not the only one who's lived through this. Hit that subscribe button because part 3 is where everything truly falls apart. And I mean everything. So Marcus left. My husband walked out because I'd let my sister move in. And the worst part, I didn't blame him. I was starting to resent Sarah too, starting to see that Marcus had been right all along. In part 3, I'm going to tell you about the breaking point, about what happened when I finally visited Sarah's old apartment and realized I'd been completely manipulated, about the fight that ended with police being called, about the moment I understood that family can be a weapon used to destroy you. Before you go, answer this question in the comments. If you were in my position right now, husband gone, sister taking advantage, kids suffering, what would you do? Give me actual advice, because I was desperate. And tell me, have you ever helped someone who didn't appreciate it, who took advantage? Share your story. Let's help each other understand when help becomes harm. Part 3 is coming and it's going to be brutal. Subscribe so you don't miss it, because the next phase of this nightmare involves broken promises, destroyed trust, and a decision that made me question everything I thought I knew about family. So let me round up my story and let me hear from you. I'll be in the comments. For 2 weeks, Marcus and I lived in this horrible limbo, dancing around the Seattle offer like it was a bomb that might explode at any second. He didn't push, I didn't resist, we both just existed, going through the motions of parenting, of marriage, of life, while this massive decision loomed over us. I researched Seattle schools. Marcus researched how often we could fly back to visit Sarah. We talked logistics but never feelings. Then, one night after the kids were in bed, Marcus finally said it. I'm going to turn it down. My stomach dropped. Marcus, I have to. Because if I take it and we move the kids, I'll watch them struggle in a new city, away from everything they know, and I'll know it's my fault. And I can't live with that. But you'll resent me, you'll resent them. Maybe, he said it so honestly it hurt. Maybe I will, but I'll resent myself more if I choose my career over these kids who have already been through so much. I started crying. I don't want you to sacrifice your dreams for this. It's not a sacrifice, it's a choice, and I'm choosing us, all of us. But what if it's the wrong choice? He pulled me close. There is no right choice, Jenna. There's just the choice we can live with, and I can live with staying here. I can't live with watching this family fall apart. He called the company the next day and declined. The recruiter was shocked. Apparently people don't usually turn down six-figure promotions, but Marcus did. I thought that was the end of it. I thought we'd move forward, grateful for his sacrifice, appreciative of his commitment. But something shifted in Marcus after that call, something subtle but undeniable. He'd smile at the kids, but it didn't reach his eyes. He'd go through the motions of family dinners, bedtime routines, weekend activities, but he wasn't present. Not really. 3 weeks later, I found him in the garage at 11 p.m., just sitting in his car, staring at nothing. "What are you doing?" I asked, wondering if I made a mistake. "Marcus, I keep thinking about where I'd be right now if I'd said yes. I'd be planning a move, starting a new adventure, building the career I've always wanted. Instead, you're sitting in a garage in the dark. Instead, I'm sitting in a garage in the dark. He looked at me. And I love you, I love those kids, but Jenna, I'm not happy, and I don't know how to fix that. Those words terrified me more than anything else that had happened, because an unhappy spouse is a ticking time bomb, and I knew, deep in my gut, that we couldn't survive much more. So what do we do? I asked. I don't know, but we need to do something because this isn't working. We made an appointment with our therapist. Had an emergency session where we laid everything out. The resentment, the exhaustion, the feeling of being trapped. Do you still want to be married? The therapist asked Marcus directly. He didn't answer right away. The silence stretched so long I thought I might throw up. Yes, he finally said, but I want to be married to someone who puts our marriage first sometimes. Not always, just sometimes. And Jenna, the therapist, turned to me. What do you want? I want to stop feeling guilty. I want to stop feeling like I have to choose between Marcus and the kids. I want everyone to be happy, and I know that's impossible, but I keep trying anyway. Why do you think it's your job to make everyone happy? That stopped me because if I don't, who will? Not your job, she said gently. It's not your job to manage everyone's emotions. Not your husband's, not your sister's, not even the kids. You can support them, love them, help them, but you can't make them happy. They have to do that themselves. It sounds so simple when I write it out, but in that moment it was revolutionary. I'd spent my entire life trying to fix things for other people, trying to make Sarah okay, trying to make my mom proud, trying to make Marcus happy, trying to give the kids the childhood they deserved. And in the process, I'd forgotten about me. So what do? I asked. You start making choices based on what you want, not what you think everyone else needs from you. That night, I lay awake thinking about what I wanted. I wanted my marriage to work. I wanted the kids to be okay. I wanted Sarah to stay stable. I wanted Lily to be happy. But what did I want for me? I realized I didn't even know anymore. The next day, I did something I hadn't done in almost a year. I called my old friend Amy, the one I'd been neglecting since the kids moved in. I need a girls' night, I told her. Can we please just get dinner and pretend my life isn't falling apart? Hell yes, she said immediately. We met at our favorite restaurant. I got wine, good wine, expensive wine. And for 3 hours we talked about everything except the kids. About movies, about her job, about ridiculous celebrity gossip, about nothing and everything. When I got home, Marcus was reading with Tyler. Emma was doing homework. Mason was building with Legos. Lily was drawing. And I realized something. They were fine. They'd been fine for 3 hours without me. The world hadn't ended. They didn't need me every single second. I started carving out time for myself. Joined a book club. Started painting again, something I'd loved in college but had abandoned. Went to coffee with Amy once a week. And you know what? The kids were fine. Marcus was fine. Everything didn't fall apart when I wasn't constantly sacrificing myself. Slowly, things started improving. Marcus and I instituted a weekly date night. Non-negotiable. Sarah would watch the kids or we'd hire a babysitter, but Friday nights were ours. We started talking again, really talking, about our fears, our resentments, our hopes. I was drowning, Marcus admitted one night. I felt like I'd lost my wife to these kids, like you loved them more than you loved me. I don't, I said. I love you. I've always loved you. I just got so caught up in trying to save everyone that I forgot to nurture us. I get it now, why you had to help them, they didn't have anyone else. But I should have included you more in the decision-making, should have considered what you needed. We both made mistakes, he said, but we're still here, still fighting. That's got to count for something. It counted for everything. Around month 13, something shifted with Tyler. He'd been seeing his therapist regularly, taking his meds, making progress, but he still had this wall up with Marcus. Then one Saturday, Marcus was fixing something in the garage. Tyler appeared in the doorway, fidgeting. "Can I help?" he asked. Marcus looked surprised. Tyler usually avoided spending time alone with him. "Sure, buddy. Can you hand me that wrench?" They worked together in silence for a few minutes. Then Tyler said, quietly, "I'm sorry I said you weren't my real dad." Marcus stopped working. "You remember that?" "Yeah, it was mean. You are my real dad. Derek doesn't count. He's just the guy who made me. You're the guy who chose me." I was watching from the doorway, tears streaming down my face, as Marcus pulled Tyler into a hug. "I chose you," Marcus said, his voice thick, "and I'd choose you again every time." That was the turning point. After that, Tyler opened up, started calling Marcus Dad instead of Marcus, started seeking him out for help with homework, for advice, for comfort. Emma had always been close to us, but she bloomed even more. Made honor roll every semester, got the lead in the school musical, became this confident, articulate young woman who still made time to read to Mason before bed. Mason became the most well-adjusted of all of them. He barely remembered life before us. We were just his family, his normal. And Lily, she thrived as a big sister, became protective of the younger kids, patient with Tyler's struggles, a role model for Emma. Our family wasn't perfect. We still fought, still struggled, still had hard days. But we were a family, a real, legitimate, chose each other family. Sarah continued to be part of their lives, came to school events, took them for weekends, called regularly. She'd been sober for over 2 years, had a steady job, was even in a serious relationship with a guy who actually treated her well. "I never thought I'd say this," she told me one day, "but giving them up was the best thing I ever did, for them and for me." "It wasn't giving up," I said. "It was choosing what was best for everyone." That's a nice way to put it. It's the true way to put it. My mother still didn't speak to me, still thought I'd stolen Sarah's children, still played the victim to anyone who'd listen. And I finally made peace with that. She wasn't going to change. She wasn't going to suddenly become the supportive mother I'd always wanted. So I stopped trying, stopped hopping, stopped letting her disapproval control my choices. It was liberating. 2 years after the initial adoption, we were called back to court. This time, all 4 kids wanted to officially change their last names to Martinez. The judge asked each of them individually if this is what they wanted. "Yes," Emma said firmly. "They're my parents. I want their name." "Yes," Tyler said. "I want to be a Martinez." "Yes," Mason said excitedly, not really understanding but knowing it was important. And Lily, our biological daughter, said, "They're already Martinez's in our hearts. This just makes it official." When the judge approved the name changes, we all cried. Happy tears, grateful tears, relieved tears. We were officially, legally, completely a family of 6. Am I glad we did it? Am I glad I said yes that day when Sarah asked to move in? The answer is complicated. Would I do it again, knowing everything that would happen? The stress, the fights, the near divorce, the financial strain, the trauma, the investigations, the court battles. Honestly, I don't know. What I do know is this: 4 kids who would have ended up in foster care are thriving. Sarah is healthier than she's ever been. Marcus and I have a stronger marriage because we survived the worst together. And our family, messy and imperfect as it is full of love. Was it worth it? Yeah, it was. But would I recommend it to someone else in the same situation? Hell no. This path almost destroyed us. We made it through by sheer stubbornness and a lot of professional help. Every family has to make their own choices, figure out their own boundaries, decide what they can handle. For us, we could handle it, barely, but we did. And now, 3 years later, I'm sitting in my kitchen watching Marcus help Tyler with algebra, Emma teaching Mason to read, and Lily playing some game with all three of them, and I think, we made it. Against all odds, we actually made it. So, am I a monster for not wanting my struggling sister and her kids to move in? No, I wasn't a monster for setting boundaries. But I also wasn't a saint for eventually taking them in. I was just a human being trying to do the best I could with an impossible situation. And sometimes that's enough. So here we are, the end of the story. And now I need to turn this around on you, because this whole time I've been asking, am I a monster? But the real question is this: what would you have done? Not what you think you should have done, not what looks good on paper, but what would you actually, honestly have done if your sister called you desperate with 3 kids, nowhere to go, and you had to make a choice? Would you have said no from the start, stuck to your boundaries, protected your peace? Or would you have said yes, opened your home, risked everything? Or would you have done what I did? Said no, then yes, then almost lost everything, then somehow made it work? Comment below and tell me. What choice would you have made at the beginning? What choice would you have made after Sarah's suicide attempt? And honestly, do you think I made the right choices? If you've been in a similar situation, if you've had to choose between helping family and protecting yourself, please share your story, because that's what we're here for, to remind each other that these impossible situations exist and we're not alone in facing them. And listen, if you're in this situation right now, if you have a family member asking for help and you don't know what to do, here's what I learned. Whatever you decide, make sure it's a decision you can live with, not what makes you look good, what you can actually sustain. Get professional help. Therapists, lawyers, financial advisors. Don't try to navigate this alone. Set boundaries from day one. Crystal clear in writing, enforced consistently. Take care of your own family first. Your spouse, your kids, they didn't sign up for this. Remember, helping and enabling are different things. Know the difference. It's okay to say no. It's okay to protect yourself. That doesn't make you a bad person. But it's also okay to say yes, to sacrifice, to choose love over convenience. That doesn't make you a sucker. There's no right answer. There's only your answer. So thank you for being here, for listening to this messy, complicated, painful, beautiful story, for not judging me, or maybe for judging me but sticking around anyway. Subscribe if you want more real, raw stories about family, choices, and survival. Share this if you know someone who's dealing with family drama and needs to know they're not alone. And comment below with your story, your advice, your judgment, your support, whatever you need to say. Because we're all just trying to figure this out. And maybe, just maybe, we can figure it out together. Final question: am I a monster for the choices I made? Let me know in the comments. I can handle it, I think. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. And thanks for reminding me that I'm not alone in this chaos. See you in the comments.